With the battle resolved, Sekaloth was allowed entrance to Devitos to make his petition to the Grand Seer of the city. Flanked by his temple guards, the Coatl appeared before the powerful dwarf sorcerer.
"Why have you come before me, lizard?" the dwarf asked.
"I seek the power to reclaim Tal Kriash from the Tritons, but they have allied with the High Elves, who are also my enemies. Ancient magics have brought me to these lands to gain the power I need. I ask you where it may be found."
The dwarf chuckled. "You asked the wrong question, Sekaloth. You have not seen the truth beyond your conflict, and so think only of your own gains."
"Then what is the right question?" the Coatl inquired.
"Why now have the Tritons made themselves known?"
"And?"
"They too are servants of Yema, the twisted queen of the depths. Long have the High Elves thwarted her will through their wars with the Dread Elves. She now uses the Tritons to weaken the High Elves city by overextending it, and its fall shall begin the great war against the Elves' empire."
Sekaloth knew of the power and of the evil of Yema, and knew as well that she must be stopped. "Where is the power that will allow me to thwart her will?" he asked.
"I see two paths before you," the dwarf responded. "In the first, you shall return to the lands from whence you came, and join with the other races to cast down the Tritons."
"And the other path?" Sekaloth asked, unwilling to trust his survival to the lesser races.
"You will travel from here to the Dread Elf port of Zabraxas. There you must claim from them a ship that will take you to the Bronze Isle. If you survive, the power that you seek will be found there."
"Then I go," Sekaloth responded. Alright, so welcome to Game 4 of Southern Assault. My Saurian Ancients taking on the Dread Elves of another longtime subscriber to the channel, and third member of the Columbia Misfires that I get to play. So this is pretty awesome. I think this is a great matchup for me. I've got a lot of shooting. He's a lot of T3. There's really nothing in this list I'm afraid of at all. His Chariot BSB is a perfect target for Unerring Strike. I think I can beat his Krakens in combat res with my units. The Executioners are probably the biggest threat. And I think the shooting game is going to beat them. I've kind of come to rely on that a lot more than I thought I would. And I think this is just where it needs to go as well. As long as I don't get stupid and overextend myself, I really like my chances here. So we are playing the... what is the I don't... It's the deployment where we each have to go back and forth dropping one. It basically comes out looking kind of like standard deployment, so I don't know why it's worth being another deployment side. But we are also fighting over secure targets, so there's one of the tokens right here in front of the ruins. The other one is off the screen to the right. I'm looking forward to this one. This is another great opponent, and another really awesome looking army. The Krakens here are actually the same models that I'm going to be using for my Kraken, so it was pretty neat to see how somebody else actually managed to mount the damn things, because they're huge. But it was pretty cool, so let's go ahead and get into talking about his list. If you want to see the details of my list, go to the video I did earlier where I talk about that sort of thing. Alright, so in the back there, we've got one of the repeater bows, or the Dread Reapers, whatever they're called. In front of that is a unit of 19 executioners. In front of that is a unit of 5 Dark Raiders. Next to that's the Kraken, another 19-man unit of executioners. Then his BSB, who is a Dread Captain on a Raptor Chariot. He has the Hero Sword and the Lucky Shield. Then in the ruins is 15 Blades of Nab with a Musician. Behind that is another Dread Reaper. Then we've got a second Kraken. Then we've got a Divine Altar with paired weapons. At least I think that's what it's saying here. I'll be honest, I thought Divine Altars were supposed to go inside units, so it kind of weirded me out seeing him sitting here all by himself. Up on the hill in the back, we have his third Dread Reaper. Then we've got another unit of Dark Raiders and another 15-man Blades of Nob with a Musician. So pretty simple, lots of MSU. But again, I think this is a really strong matchup for me. I think I got the tools to deal with it, and I've got the bodies to kind of counteract the MSU thing going on. So I'm cool with it. So over on this side, I put some shooting to deal with the lightly armored stuff here. I match up my poison raiders against, or my poison skinks against his Kraken in the middle. On the hill, I put my spearmen just to kind of say, come at me, bro. I am hiding the Taurosaur behind the hill because I do fear bolt throwers. Some shooting up front in the spearback. My general's unit, again, my thought is that this Kraken and or his BSB could be handled with unerring strike. As a side note, I love being able to be a lore master in divination. Picking your spells is amazing. Then I've got my Caimans here, figuring that if I can't get unerring strike on them, they can probably handle the Kraken well too. They've got to worry about his multi-wounds, but it's only 3 attacks, so I'm willing to take a gamble there. And over here, I'm thinking of using Stygie to go hunt war machines. So I'm going to hope that he comes up aggressively and I can kind of sneak around behind him. I took turn 1. I moved up just a little bit. I kind of want him to come at me and take some shooting first. And I'm thinking of popping Swarm of Insects to try and take out that first bolt thrower, so we'll see what happens. And I'm just aggressive as hell up in the middle. I don't think his middle's very strong unless he can get those Krakens in on my side. So I'm not really afraid of much of anything over here. And over here I don't really move much other than to get the spearback into range. I need to start killing those units because I don't really have a whole lot to contest this objective point on the side, so I need to make sure he doesn't either. Unerring Strike opens up and pops his BSB. Only does 1 wound though because he rolled really good on some armor saves. Then I get some shooting, kill all but 1 of the Dread Raiders. He panics and runs off. And then I kill, with the bows, I kill a single Blade of Nob. So maybe I should have put more over here, but it wasn't a great roll. As they get closer to me to try and claim the objective, I figure I'll have more shots on them. Then over here, shooting claims 3 of these raiders. And poof, they run off the board too. My opponent's having a hard time hitting those leadership rolls. Dark Elf turn 1. My opponent attempts to charge. I think he attempted to charge my Temple Guard with the Kraken and failed it and moved up to here. Other than that, he's not really moving much, which has me worried. I'm kind of expecting him to be more offensive, but on the other hand, it does give me more opportunity to shoot at him, so I'm okay with that. Over here, this guy fails to rally and gets closer to the board edge. And then things start moving forward. We just moved the fence. Those 2 dice there show where it was laying, but he's pushing his Blades of Nob to go for the counter, and over on this side, the Kraken and the Altar come hard because they figure they can probably clear these guys out and open up the way for him to just sit there with the blades and own that side of the board. I think he may have done a little bit of moving forward with the Executioners, but not much. And yeah, maybe a little bit of moving forward with the Executioners on this side as well. He realizes that I'm going to try and poison his Kraken, so he gets some magic off to throw up 2 extra points of armor on him, which makes these guys flammable, which I thought I had to worry about, but he actually doesn't have the flaming banner in any of these units, so I'm not all that sweating. Bolt Thrower throws 2 wounds on the Spearback. Bolt Thrower throws 2 wounds on the Taurosaur because I wasn't able to take it out last turn. So my turn 2, he's not moving up aggressive, so I'm kind of changing my battle plan a little bit. I pull in tight so that I can get as much of that bonus to the 5-up ward against shooting, and I'm just going to kind of wait him out and see what happens. I end up getting Healing Waters off during the magic phase to heal up one of the wounds off of the Taurosaur. And then I decide to punish him with Swarm of Insects. He threw all of his dice, I think, to stop unerring strike, or he was going to, so he let Swarm of Insects through, figuring, how much do I have to worry about Strength 1 attacks? And my Strength 1 attacks peeled his entire back row off of this unit of Executioners. Over here I did some shooting. Looks like I've killed about half of that unit of Blades of Knob at this point. And then it's his turn 2. He ends up landing a charge with the Chariot into my Spearback on the flank and gets him in such a way that he's clipped without going into the forest, so no dangerous terrain. I think he actually had to... He charged the Skinks first and I fled with them, and then he redirected here, I think is how it went. And he does actually get the Kraken into the Temple Guard. Again, unless he rolls like really high in his Thunderstomp, he's only getting 4 attacks. I think with very little effort, I'm going to get him beat on static combat res here, and I'm willing to take that risk. I think he failed a charge with the Kraken, or maybe didn't make it. And I think I shot him last turn, is what this looks like, because he counts his wounds down. So I've put 1 wound on that Kraken. I just don't remember how it happened. But he did some shooting here, I think, and either some shooting or some magic, I don't recall, but only one of these guys died to whatever it was. Over here, yeah, he absolutely thrashes the Spearback and reforms to look at my fleeing Skinks. Chase them off the board next turn, maybe, if they don't rally. And yeah, I beat the Kraken pretty good. He runs off with 1 wound remaining. He had moved up his Executioners so close that when the Kraken broke from combat, the Executioners that were on the left side panicked and ran off the table. The other ones are here, which is just perfect shooting range, so I'm going to just open a can up on them. I think what he did is he might have tried to charge in his BSB too and failed it, so that's why he moved up the Executioners here to block for him. So my turn 3, I declare a charge with the Caimans against the Kraken. He has to flee, goes 2 inches, and gets run down. So I am now facing the flank of his BSB, and that's just pretty awesome. Over here, I decide not to bring anything in, but I'm starting to push everybody in because there is going to be a shooting gallery here. Start off with Unerring Strike, starting to peel some guys down. Shoot some more Kraken with poison. He's down to 2 wounds on this Kraken. And then I open up with the rest of the fire. I do the breath weapon. I do the 5 guys on the back of the Taurosaur. I do the 1 remaining Spearback on the top of the hill, and he is left with 3 Executioners in this unit. At this point, the only models he's gotten in combat is one Kraken and one Chariot on the other side of the board, and it's just not going well for my opponent because he's losing his tools before he gets the chance to use them. And every die roll is going my way. I think he's cast one spell all game just because he's just not rolling, and I'm stopping him on like 2 dice per cast, and it's not going well for him. And then the leadership fails. I mean, running his executioners off the board. Just I really do feel for the guy because he's getting beat by his dice as much as by me at this point. So Dark Elf. Oh, and I rallied these skinks. So Dark Elf turn 3, he charges into the skinks. The skinks decide to hold. I'm not going to run off the board, and maybe I can tie him up for a while. I don't really think I'm going to win. I honestly don't think I'm going to do any wounds, but if I can tie him up for a turn, that's all right. And he ends up charging the 3 executioners and the BSB in this unit. They're both dead. He actually mentioned to me after this, after this combat resolves, that he forgot that spears have the lethal strike for chariots. So he doesn't have any ward saves on his BSB, so he's smoked. Over here, the Kraken tried to charge somebody. I don't know why the poison guys might have been charged by the BSB first and fled, and he had to redirect. Might have been how that went down. But the Kraken starts moving in this way as well. The blades are coming closer to support, and the freaking one horse guy rallied last turn and is running back into the fight. His blades start backing up because he's afraid of all the death I'm bringing in his direction. And pops Glory of Gold onto the BSB and makes the spears flammable. Does some shooting with the bolt thrower here and inflicts 1 wound on a Cayman. I do lose 4 Saurus to this, but there was only one way that this fight was ever going to end, and it was with all his stuff dying. And then over here, he only killed 5 skinks, and the skinks put a wound back on him. And I got 2 ranks, so I'm steadfast and don't go anywhere. So I'm holding him up even more, and that's awesome. So over here on my turn, the spearmen decide to charge the Kraken. It flees, not enough, and I catch it and overrun here. I catch it and end up here. And the awesome thing about that is that was enough movement that I needed. You can see my charge range at the bottom there, the 11 plus 5. So caught him, and now I'm close enough within the next 2 turns to start contesting this objective too. So my opponent is rapidly losing out of ways to not lose points here. I rally these guys here in the ruins. And I start bringing forward a lot of pain on this central unit. I decide that the Caymans are going to be able to go and reach that bolt thrower faster than anybody else and run less of a risk of getting shot to death while doing so. I pop Swarm of Insects off again and kill about half of the of his unit here. And combat, he only kills 3 more of the skinks. I don't do any more wounds, but I'm still steadfast, and I'm succeeding steadfast 6 rolls like it's going out of style. He decides at this point that he needs to get back away from me and get that scenario, so he brings up his 1 remaining Dark Raider to chaff and sends his Blades of Knob back to the scenario point. He keeps running because he's now at the point where he's trying to conserve some points. Over here, some shooting gets done. Looks like 1 Cayman dies. And the bolt thrower all the way on the other side of the room tries to hit him. I think the other one here in the middle does too, but they're not really. Here, finally, the chariot kills the skinks breaks the skinks. Doesn't even kill them, breaks them, and he fails a restrain roll and runs off the table after him. So my turn 5, I go ahead and charge into the chaff because it's got to die, and my poison guys go running after the blades, trying to take them out. I start pushing more pressure up here. I'm just going to try and shoot these guys to death and get within a good range to charge and take out the bolt thrower. And over here, I do charge the bolt thrower on this side, and it's going down. Get some more shooting, and there's only his spellcaster and 2 more blades left. And the bolt thrower dies to the caimans. I kill the 1 horse and reform as so. And then it's his turn 5. Chariot comes back on the table. That could be a problem. So I think what I may have to do is just sack the hunters to keep him away. By this point, he miscasts something and is down to no... Like, the miscast killed the last of his people, and he's down to 1 wound on the caster, I think is how this ends up working now. It was either a miscast or I shot him last turn. I don't recall exactly how it went, but the end result is the same. He does get Silver Spear off and kills Stygie. This bolt thrower kills 2 of the spearmen here. And my turn 6, and I rush up on him. And this is probably the only mistake I make, the only real mistake I made all game. I got way closer than I needed to. I kind of got overzealous. And I've given him a potential chance to get around me and prevent me from claiming these points. So that's pretty much how it's doing. I've got the chariot in a way here so that he's not really going to be able to get to my Saurus. And there's steadfast in the forest, or stubborn in the forest. So if he comes in and does about as well as he's done against other kings, he might not even take those points. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for there. I charge the Taurosaur through the ruins to take out this bolt thrower. And I shoot to death his wizard, so she's gone. I shoot down another couple of blades, and again, this is the problem. Before, because of the wheel he would have to make to get out of my line of sight, I think he actually needed to march. Now that he's got less people there, he doesn't even need to march. He can just go straight forward and get out of my line of sight, so I can't claim those points. So I'm kind of kicking myself at this point for pushing it too far. And over here, of course, no Elven Bolt Thrower is going to live against a Taurosaur charge. And I send this guy over here to try and get some shots off on the Bolt Thrower, and I don't think it happened. Dark Elf turns, or Dread Elf turns 6. He does exactly what I thought he was going to do. He runs here in between the unit and charges the flank of the hunters. He kills the hunters, and after we do everything, it turns out that I failed to get the 20-0 because I was not able to kill those blades. If I had done that, it would have been a 20-0. Otherwise, it was a 19-1. I can't really complain. It was a great victory on my side. I really think it came with a combination of this was a great match for me. I think I really had a lot of strong advantages here. My list can do very, very well against low toughness MSU lists because I have a lot of bodies. A lot of my points are in bigger units. And I got a surprisingly large amount of shooting. So I definitely think it worked in my favor. I didn't stupidly throw away any units on kind of unexpected combat switches, and I kept my opponent out of combat until I could weaken him to the point where I wasn't afraid of combat. So I really think, like, if I had to look at any of the battles I played during the tournament, this is the one where I probably played the list the best in terms of doing what I needed to do, handling the threats I needed to handle. On top of that, and I got to say this, my opponent's dice hated him this game. He was failing leadership 8 and 9s like it was going out of style. He couldn't make charges when he needed to. He wasn't throwing spells for anything. His magic, he might as well just have not taken it because he wasn't hitting the spells he needed. Um, I mean, the dice just were against him, and it turned into what it turned into. But another great opponent. Like I said, I really had fun with the Columbia Misfire guys. They are an awesome group of dudes. Um, if you ever get a chance to play any of them, I actually went out to lunch with them after this game, and just a great group of fellas. Highly recommend if you ever get a chance to play them, catch up with them because they're awesome guys. But hope you guys like this one. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, visit my Patreon. Any donations are more than welcome to help pay for me to get out to these tournaments and to make good videos that you guys enjoy. I certainly appreciate any help that folks are willing to give, and thank those who have already chosen to donate. It is certainly appreciated. Got one more game to wrap up the tournament, and this this little mini story here, and so it's coming up. I do end up getting bumped up back to table 5, where it all started. The same table that I played Shannon on in game 1. I am back there in turn 5. Or going. By this point, I am like 5 points below the best Saurian Ancients player, so it's within my grasp. We'll see how I handle it in the next video. So hope you guys will join me on that one, and thanks for watching.